Judas. Hi, Net and YouTube. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Church of Judas. I'll start off with the Church of Judas blessing for the people of the future who see this, since no one's going to be in here for 30 minutes. No, it's fine. You can spread this around. Goddess bless you, Mary bless you, Mary bless you, Mary bless you, Jesus bless you, Judas bless you, I bless you, and bless yourself. So, welcome to the Church of Judas. This is probably the big day for the Church of Judas, or it could be. I guess a day in the future could be the big day for the Church of Judas. But this is the day when MAGA Republicans are finally turning on Trump. MAGA Christians. MAGA Christians are finally turning on Trump. That's a lot of so-called Christians. Emphasis on the so-called. But no, seriously, like, it's like Jesus has it tough. Jesus has a message of love that has to get through all these thorns of these bad people's packagings of it. And you, I will go so far to say, you could say this too, but I would go so far as to say, the church, the Jesus of most churches or many churches is really antichrist. Has been corrupted by some antichrist stuff, and it's somewhat of a path to Jesus. Churches are, but mostly like a obstruction. Again, there's good churches out there, and there's plenty of good people in all churches, whether the churches are good or bad. But the reason for this strange arrangement is because the churches were a trap. Jesus set the churches up, or let the churches develop this way as a trap, or knew they were going to develop this way, and he had a plan. If you think about it, if Jesus knew all the bad stuff these churches were going to do, it would make him bad, unless he had a plan. Unless he had a plan to fix it, do something about it. And you can say, well, Jesus couldn't possibly know all the bad stuff the churches were going to do. But why wouldn't he? And so my point is that if he did know all the bad stuff the churches were going to do and he didn't have a plan, that'd be bad. And so one of the bad things the churches were going to do was Trumpism. We're living it right now. We're living one of the bad things that the churches did in Jesus' name, Trumpism. And again, not all churches, but far too many of them did. And they're starting to regret it now. Now that he killed Charlie Kirk, or now that he got Charlie Kirk killed, however you want to put it. Now that he did that, now that he won't release the Epstein files, related subject. Now that he won't stop genocides, related subject. Now that he won't do anything good. Again, it's ironic that they're asking God now, and God's like, yeah, Trump is the Antichrist. Trump isn't Jesus. Jesus is the opposite of Trump, because Trump is the Antichrist. And it's ironic that even though they're asking God and God's telling them that now, we were telling them that. People, Christians and non-Christians, were telling them that for years and years and years. And it's like, well, I'm glad you're finally listening to God, or hopefully you're finally listening to each other when they're telling you, yeah, Trump's evil, Trump's the Antichrist. But we have been telling you that. I've been telling you that very specifically. I don't know how old my Trump is the Antichrist videos are, but they've been out there for a while. And again, Net and YouTube suppresses me, so I'm not blaming anyone but them for the fact that no one's seen them, or that very few people have seen them. But, well, they have been seen. People have commented on them because they looked up Trump as the Antichrist and they found my videos about it. So, in that case, thanks, Net and YouTube. But all this stuff is backfiring on them. They tried to make Charlie Kirk a martyr. They ended up making Jimmy Kimmel a martyr. They murdered Charlie Kirk to try to make him a martyr. And when they couldn't get a civil war going, because that's what they really thought and hoped was going to start, was a civil war because they murdered Charlie Kirk, false flag operation, they went all Wicked Witch of the West on us, and were like, oh, I'll at least get you, Pee-wee, to Jimmy Kimmel. They were like, well, at least get Jimmy Kimmel fired. And that backfired on them hugely. That was like one of the biggest backfires. It was one of the biggest cell phones in the history of humanity. But they were like, I'll get you anyway, Pee-wee. And Toto, Jimmy Kimmel, just became a hero out of it. May have gotten a huge, bigger salary. He comes back more glorious than ever, like Jesus. 3 days later, Jimmy Kimmel comes back more glorious than ever. Charlie Kirk ain't coming back. Charlie Kirk was fake. Charlie Kirk was Antichrist. So this really illustrates to people how it goes. You got two paths you can follow. You got the path of truth and light and goodness and calling out the bad guys. And you got the path of lies and dirt and dust. And so right now, a lot of Christians, because there is real power to Jesus, and people will ask Jesus, what's the truth here? And Jesus will tell them, Trump is the Antichrist. Charlie Kirk was the Antichrist, or they're trying to make Charlie Kirk into a little mini Antichrist. They're trying to make people worship Charlie Kirk. But Trump is their real Antichrist in the situation, and Putin is the devil of the situation. And God is telling them that now. Like, they're getting the message now. Even though we've been telling them for years, God is telling them that now, and they're listening to God. So, big respect to the Christians who are listening to God, telling them that Trump is the Antichrist. Wish you'd asked earlier. Again, we've all been telling you, wish you'd asked God and listened to God earlier. But here we are. It took all this. And let's not let it take more. I mean, for some people, I guess it'll take more. But hopefully we can go ahead and stop Trump. We have enough to kind of break all this down and get some good out of it for all the evil that's been done. But at least, again, we have this very clear comparison, this very good turning point for America to turn on Trump and turn back to Jesus. Not that everybody has to believe in Jesus, but the people who claim to believe in Jesus might as well at least believe in a real Jesus instead of an Antichrist, Trumpy Jesus. So, this is Church of Judas, so welcome to the Church of Judas. It replaces all patriarchy, Christianity, war, and Trumpism. And here we go. It's starting in a big way now that MAGA Christians are betraying Trump because he killed Charlie Kirk, and they asked God, and God told them that, and God said, and by the way, Trump is the Antichrist, and he's evil. And so they're finally starting to wake up. Now, I thought that would mean, I didn't know exactly what YouTube live would be like at 6, 7 o'clock. Most of my videos get most of their views if I post them between 6 and 7 o'clock. But I don't think I've ever been live this time before. So, welcome. And we're doing Church of Judas. Mike is here. We're focused on Church of Judas right now because I saw Park Rose Permaculture had a video of, welcome Mike. Park Rose Permaculture had a video of like a MAGA Christian influencer, like a top, probably a preacher or something, who was talking about how into praying for Trump she was, and how now she's prayed to God and realized that, Trump is the Antichrist. Mike says, I can't believe you're still doing these live podcasts. Get the hints, Satan. I don't understand what that means. Mike says, okay, maybe this context will get the hints, Satan. By your own admission, you're not trying to spread an agenda. You're just trying to get views to make money. No, I'm pretty much trying to spread an agenda. If I was trying to get views to make money, I probably would have figured out a way to get better views and I probably would have monetized my account instead of not having a non-monetized account. So, no, again, there's the path of lies and dust that doesn't really amount to anything, and there's the path of light. Jimmy Kimmel is a good representation of the path of light. Like Jesus, he came back after 3 days. Charlie Kirk is a good example of the power of darkness and dust. Like, you just end up, if you ally with these evil guys, you're just going to end up kind of going down with them, / at best being, a stumbling stone for their downfall. So Charlie Kirk went down for them, for the Antichrist, for Trump and Putin. Charlie Kirk went down for them in a way, for the evil things he'd spread. Not that that's how it works, but you know what I'm saying? He had done evil things, and then he went down for them. And he's going to bring them down too, like in some way. Maybe it's his ghost, maybe it's Jesus or something, being like, you used my name to do evil things. Well, now I'm going to use your name to do good things. Mike says, if you want to get more views and spread message, start telling the truth. Yeah, I'm telling the truth. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm telling the truth because Trump killed Charlie Kirk, or Trump is the most responsible. No matter who did it, Trump is the most responsible for killing Charlie Kirk. Now that MAGA Christians are realizing that, they're betraying Trump. All this time they've been betraying Jesus and been betraying America for Trump. But now they're betraying Trump. And they can rediscover Jesus, and they can rediscover America, and they can make themselves American again, or Jesus can make them American again. It's actually a really great day. It's actually an amazing illustration of how Jesus is reflected in Jimmy Kimmel, because Jimmy Kimmel was canceled for 3 days, and then he came back 3, 4 days, whatever. But Jesus is reflected in Jimmy Kimmel because Jimmy Kimmel comes back more glorious than ever, with more greater power than ever before, like Obi-Wan Kenobi. You struck him down, he returns more powerful than you can possibly imagine. But Charlie Kirk isn't coming back. Charlie Kirk's legacy, far more than he did in life, that by dying the way he did, he's going to reveal the evils of Trumpism to people. And people are going to break, they tried to use Charlie Kirk as a weapon, as a tool against us. And Charlie Kirk's going to end up being turned against them. It's fantastic. It's really a glorious day. And I got to say, thanks, Goddess, thanks, Jesus, thanks, all spiritual beings, because I've long said that all spiritual beings are on our side against Trump. They don't have any spiritual beings on their side, or any. If they did have one, they'd be some type of evil spiritual being if those exist. But let's see what their comments are. Saber Gamer says, "LOL, he's has crackhead teeth." Mike says, "All human beings have done evil things. Charlie Kirk only tried to do his best to spread a message from God." He quoted scripture. Well, that doesn't make him, you know, Trump references God in the Bible sometimes, but he's the Antichrist. Charlie Kirk was also Antichrist. But because they used the name of Jesus, and Jesus is real and has power, Jesus turned them into tools for people's liberation and freedom from Trump. Like, what's the result of them killing Charlie Kirk? Trump wanted it to be a civil war. Let's be factual. Trump wanted to start a civil war by killing Charlie Kirk. Didn't work. So he was all like the Wicked Witch of the West to Jimmy Kimmel. He's like, well, I'll get you anyway, Pee Wee. He's all treating Jimmy Kimmel like Toto. I was like, I'll get you anyway, Pee Wee, and tried to fire Jimmy Kimmel. Makes Jimmy Kimmel like Jesus, because Jimmy Kimmel comes back 3 days later, more powerful than ever before. And it makes Charlie Kirk show that he was false. He was not to be emulated or followed, because he led people to an antichrist Jesus. That's not Jesus. All that racism and sexism and stuff, that's not Jesus. That's Antichrist. That's Trump. And so by letting Trump, I mean, Jesus didn't have anything to do with Trump killing Charlie Kirk. That was all on Trump and Charlie Kirk and, Netanyahu or whatever. The Groypers, if the Groypers didn't do it, as people are now realizing, the Groypers are at least willing to be the fall guys, willing to take the credit. It's like, but although they were going to take the credit as trans people in order to blame trans people. That's how they do that, What do these people have to say? Saber Gamer says, "LOL, balding is a sign of testosterone loss." By the way, I guess he's like selling some type of medicine. Mike says, "Do you claim to be a religious because you are putting Jimmy Kimmel on a pedestal?" No, I'm just saying Jimmy Kimmel is just like lots of people are like Jesus. There's all sorts of characters and stories and stuff that are like Jesus. Jimmy Kimmel is like Jesus. Charlie Kirk is not like Jesus. Saber Gamer says, "LOL, fifth grade reading 2." Mike says, "You're insane." Mike says, "How do you explain Trump's claim that he turned his head and the bullet only grazed his ear?" I don't. That wasn't a real assassination attempt. That was when you attack yourself in order to blame somebody else in order to do something. Which this was a version of that too. Killing Charlie Kirk was also a version of attacking yourself in order to blame somebody else in order to do something. But anyway, this is all about how Christians are waking up to the fact that Trump is the Antichrist. When they do that, there's going to be a natural progression to real Jesus, because Trump's been holding them back from real Jesus all this time. Trump's been holding them to an Antichrist Jesus and to a fake Jesus who's the Antichrist. So the return to Jesus is going to be pretty glorious as it happens. And the fact that people are questioning Trump because they realize, because Jesus can explain to them how he's the Antichrist, is going to help people reject all the stuff that Trump stands for. And we should have a reviving, like a great awakening type of thing. I think they were trying to start, I don't know, Great Depression or Civil War or something like that. They were trying to start some things from 100, 200 years ago back in America, that Trump and Putin were trying to do that to us. But I think what they started instead is probably a great awakening. And we've had 2 great awakenings, I think, 100 years ago. I think they were about 100 years ago. Anyway, so I thought that maybe since my videos that I post get a lot of views between the 6 and 8 o'clock hours on YouTube, I don't think I've ever gone live on YouTube before, that I would have a bigger audience. But as it is, YouTube isn't even showing, it's only showing that 1 person is in here, although I think 2 people are. They're both commenting, which usually results in it being shown to more people. But I guess I picked a touchy topic that Net and YouTube didn't want to show to anybody. So y'all are lucky to be here. Comparing Jimmy Kimmel to Jesus is not blasphemy. Comparing Jimmy Kimmel to Jesus is recognizing how Jesus works through all of us and through some people, especially at times. And that's, in this case, Jimmy Kimmel. There's a correlation between Jimmy Kimmel being canceled for 3 days and Trump being in the tomb for 3 days. I mean, Trump, I wish. Jesus being in the tomb for 3 days. And Charlie Kirk not coming back. Jimmy Kimmel came back, you know? Like, that's a difference. Jimmy Kimmel was fired for the truth, was persecuted for the truth, just like Jesus, you know? It's like, I'm not saying Jimmy Kimmel is Jesus any more than you are or I am or anybody else is, but being able to see Jesus in Jimmy Kimmel because of this course of events and being able to see the Antichrist in Charlie Kirk because of this course of events, and for people to literally see that Trump is the Antichrist and turn back to Jesus because of recognizing Trump as the Antichrist because of what he did to Charlie Kirk, like, that's that's how it works. That's how, like, spiritual lessons and how the unfolding of prophecy and stuff actually take place. They take place through people, through real people who really exist. And like, we really exist, and we're part of it. We're a small part, or we can be a big part of it, just like Jimmy Kimmel was. So, I mean, Jimmy Kimmel will go down in history, okay? You might not care about Jesus or anything, but Jimmy Kimmel will go down in history. This is a historical moment. That he's, as much of a historical figure as, well, I mean, in a way, more than any other talk show host I can think of, as far as being like playing a pivotal role at a juncture, a turning point in American history. Mike wants me to define to him who I think Jesus is. I think the really easiest answer to that question is love. So you know that Trump is Antichrist because he's a hateful, evil motherfucker. You know that Charlie Kirk was Antichrist because he's hateful too. Jesus is love. Jimmy Kimmel's love. Guillermo's love. Like, like I'm being love right now, being all calm and friendly and welcoming to you. So, I appreciate, the spirit of Jesus spreading love even in difficult or contesting circumstances. That's what this is. This is all. Trump tried to start Civil War II by killing Charlie Kirk. Okay? Everybody's realizing that, and it's backfiring on him. And it's not ironic, it's mystical. It's the way spiritual reality works. And it's really cool. It's just really a exciting thing that people are finally waking up and seeing Trump as the Antichrist. I can return to Jesus. I can return to America. Just betray Trump. Your only duty to an evil God or master is to betray them. So people are realizing that Trump is an evil God and master. And so they're betraying him. Thank you for the like. You must be new here. Welcome to the Church of Judas. This is what I'm doing right now, is Church of Judas stuff. Because of hearing about, thanks to Park Rose Permaculture, put out a video. And I've been back and forth on Park Rose Permaculture, but I certainly appreciate this video. And I can see where she's coming from. But anyway, the videos of some MAGA Christians who are like waking up. They're like, I asked God, and God told me Trump is the Antichrist and evil. And so they're turning away from Trump. They're turning back to America. They're turning back to Jesus. They're turning to a real Jesus, maybe for the first time. Because people just, they know what they know. And if they're told Jesus tells you to be like this, and then they're like that, it's not Jesus's fault that people use him to put forth bad ideas. That's the Charlie Kirk thing, But Jesus actually used Jimmy Kimmel to put forth a good idea. Jimmy Kimmel was banned for like 3 days. Jimmy Kimmel was off the air for 3 days and has come back more powerful than ever before, more glorified than ever before. And, will have a lasting place in history. Jimmy Kimmel is a historical figure now. No, Jimmy Kimmel didn't physically rise from the dead. That's a cool thing for Jesus to do, or for Jesus to make Lazarus do, or for anybody else who's risen from the dead. That's really cool. Like, I'm not taking anything away from that. I'm just saying, as an analogy, Jimmy Kimmel is more like Jesus in this situation than Charlie Kirk is. And Jesus is using his powers to show us that. I'm pointing it out here because I think it's interesting. And I think it's interesting that people are turning on Trump now, that they realize how evil he is. Once they start to turn on Trump and question him, they start to realize how evil he is, and they leave Trump entirely. Mike says, tell me this is Charlie Kirk burning in hell right now. Tell me this is Charlie Kirk burning in hell right now. Is that part of another sentence? Um, I don't believe in hell. I mean, that's another thing. Just because people tell you stuff doesn't mean it's true, and that includes about Jesus. Jesus is real and true, but the stuff they tell you about him might not be. They may have used Jesus to do some evil stuff. Well, they definitely did. Okay, let's just put it that way. Lots of people definitely used Jesus to do used the name of Jesus or falsely representing Jesus to do some evil stuff. That's antichrist. Whether there's a spirit of the antichrist or not, the accumulation of all this evil stuff people have done in Jesus' name that's been antichrist is antichrist. And there's a network of it. It's become capitalism and tyranny and empires and churches and stuff since then. And Jesus had a plan to destroy all that, which is really freaking cool and really exciting. And I like to talk about it. The plan is Judas, if you're new. The plan is Jesus set Judas outside of all Christianity. There is no Church of Judas. But now there is. I mean, I started the Church of Judas. But the Church of Judas is Judas coming back to replace all the existing churches. Mike says Jimmy Kimmel is better than Gandhi. Well, he's a historical figure. It's not a contest. They're both good. Jose is back. This guy was calling me a Nazi the other day. Were you being a Nazi? Were you supporting Trump? Because that's my definition of being a Nazi, or a Trump-boutonniere, which is worse than a Nazi because Trump-boutonnieres are Nazis and pedophiles, like we've all proven. But I mean, you didn't have to bring this up, okay? You're the one who brought that up. I was talking about Jesus and Judas. So that's on you, Jose B7786. So next time, don't be boring and listening before you speak when something's going on, okay? And don't support Trump. This whole live is about how people are finally turning on Trump. It's a turning point for USA that people are turning on Trump because they're realizing he killed Charlie Kirk. Like, it's not hard, okay? Like, they could have realized that he vanced Pope Francis and could have turned on Trump back then. Pope Leo's totally cool, but I mean, I thought Pope Francis was pretty cool too. And he was, I don't know. He's a sweet man. Church of Judas. It's the Church of Judas. Did you see Church of Jesus? Our Church of Judas. I'm not sure if that's just a spelling thing, but anyway, Church of Judas replaces all the Christian churches, all Christianity, because who started Christianity, right? Jesus. Then what happened to Christianity? It went bad in lots of different ways. Lots of different churches have gone bad in lots of different ways. And so Jesus would kind of suck if he didn't have some type of plan to fix that. And he does have a plan to fix it. And it's going to be starting right now. And it's going to be catching on in a big way right now because a lot of people are feeling betrayed by Trump because they're realizing he's the Antichrist. And a lot of people are going to feel like Jesus has betrayed them. Well, they just need to know that Jesus is the Antichrist. That's not the real Jesus. And so they'll find the real Jesus if they want. I mean, people don't have to find the real Jesus. I'm not saying this is an imperative. I'm just saying that people that thought they had Jesus and then they find out the Jesus they had is evil or the Antichrist, then they're going to want the real Jesus. So it's time to let them know that, hey, Jesus from the very beginning had a plan for all this stuff that was going to happen. And he put that plan in motion. Red-eyed Dragoon says clown. He put that plan in motion. And it's happening now. Like, I've known about the Church of Judas stuff for 20 years. Other people have known about it, but I literally don't think a single other person on the planet's taken it seriously. Or if they have taken it seriously, they did what I did for like 15 years and say, wow, that's going to be really cool when that actually happens. And then about 5 years ago, I was like, 5 or 7 years ago, something like that, I was like, wait, I've been waiting for this to happen and nobody's doing it. What if I need to do something about it? What if I'm the one I've been waiting for somebody to, what if I'm the one who's supposed to do the thing that I'm waiting for somebody else to do? And so I did it. And I wrote a book about it. And I post a lot of videos about it. But it hasn't caught on yet. But this is the type of time that it should really catch on. I've always known that people would feel betrayed by Trump, who's the Antichrist, and they would need the real Jesus at that time. And if you do worship an evil master or an evil God, then you only have one duty to that evil master or evil God, and that's betray them. So this isn't because Judas betrayed Jesus because Jesus was evil. It's not that. Jesus asked Judas to do this. So all the other disciples, all the other churches had a wrong story from the very beginning. And that's figured into other things that they've got wrong, right? But Jesus set Judas aside as a way to do this, to restore it, to fix the church, to repurpose the church. Kind of like upcycling. To repurpose the churches that they put all over the world to give back as much as possible to make reparations for all the evil it's done. That's to like everybody. To set an example, because you got two of the richest organizations in the world in Christianity. You got Catholicism and you got Mormonism. And if you opened up those coffers and that property and stuff and used it all to give money, give land and money and everything back to indigenous people and other people that you've harmed, you're going to do a lot of good and make those people really, really rich. Okay, let's read what the comments say. Mike says, do you believe that Charlie Kirk is burning in hell right now? I told you a minute ago I don't believe in hell. I think hell is one of the things that these fake Christians, these Antichrist Christians, sold you guys to get you on an Antichrist Jesus. Why would some love God, Jesus, make a hell? It just doesn't even make any sense. It's baffling, but it's so entrenched because Christianity, as it was hijacked by patriarchy, by evil, that was the plan. Jesus let Christianity get hijacked by patriarchy to be a trap religion for 2,000 years. And he set Judas outside of it. So Judas can come back in now. It's a really great hero story. It's a really great true crime story, because who really killed Judas? He didn't kill himself. Doesn't make any sense. That didn't make any sense the way they told it in the Bible. Okay, Mike says the Bible tells that hell exists. Jesus spoke of Hades and hell. Are you calling Jesus a liar now? You're really stuck on hell. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know why hell is so important to you. Mike says Jesus conquered hell by his resurrection. I mean, that's cool. So if hell did exist, then it's been conquered for 2,000 years and doesn't exist anymore, I guess. I don't know what we're arguing about. Mike says you started the Church of Judas, the betrayer. Yeah, except Judas didn't betray Jesus. That's the whole point. Jesus asked Judas to do it. He was going to go down as a betrayer. Jesus told him, he's like, you're going to be hated for centuries, for millennium. You're going to be hated for doing this. But then your church is going to replace all these other churches. Which, when you think about it, having that happen right now will not only unite all the churches in what they are replaced by, and they won't need all that money and stuff, but it will change everything. It will completely, radically shift the churches. Some of the churches won't change that much because they're already into what Jesus is really like. But those are like the offshoot church. Those are like the rare churches, or Son of Cole says Catholicism and Mormonism are not Christian. Right, but that's the interesting thing about it. It replaces Mormonism and Catholicism and Orthodoxy and Protestantism, the evangelical offshoot of Protestantism that's not Christian either, if you want to call it that. It replaces all of it. It replaces all Christianity. It replaces Jehovah's Witnesses. It replaces Unitarians. It replaces all of it. Now, does it replace Islam? Does it replace Hinduism? Not directly, but I do think that when one of the world's major religions is going through a revolutionary transformation, the people of the other religions will notice and they'll say, hey, have you heard about what happened to Christianity? Like, that thing got totally revamped. That religion got turned upside down, inside out, into one completely different religion, like a giant magic trick. And then they're going to consider, hey, what happened? Oh, they got rid of the patriarchy. They rooted the patriarchy out of the religion of Christianity, and it completely changed everything. And it's not just going to be like the churches change. The whole plan is to end empires. So it's not like people are going to be able to avoid the result of this. Empires, war, the institution of war will end. So people are going to notice when war ends, and it all happened in a way thanks to Christianity and Jesus and stuff. And in a way, a whole lot of wars happen thanks to Christianity. Not necessarily Jesus, but a whole lot of wars happen thanks to Christianity. But now, when this happens, when Judas replaces Christianity, the end of war will make people notice. And it'll probably naturally change the other religions too, was my conclusion there. Where I'll land my plane, as they used to say on TikTok, is that in other religions, they'll also root out their Christianity. I mean, they root out their patriarchy. They'll transform in much the same way that Christianity transformed. Although Christianity has been kind of the one holding us all back the whole time. I don't know, maybe to some extent Christianity has bled over into other religions and corrupted them as well. Mike says they're not turning on Trump. Oh yeah, they are. They're turning on Trump. Yeah, the Christians are turning on Trump, especially right now, because he killed Charlie Kirk, and they're realizing he killed Charlie Kirk, and that is a sore spot for them. Mike says, are you claiming that you are from the Church of Judas? I'm pretty much the Church of Judas. In 2025, I mean, I think Jesus is the Church of Judas, and Judas and Mary and other people are spiritually the Church of Judas and always have been, just like they've always been the Church of Mary. Like the only real Christian church has been the Church of Mary. Oh, you've never heard of the Church of Mary? Well, because it only existed in like the spiritual dimension. It wasn't the men on earth didn't allow it to happen here. They stamped it out, just like they stamped out the Church of Judas. There were apparently Judas followers who had this Gospel of Judas for, a few decades or a century or so. And then the other Christians destroyed it. But ironically, that's what made the prophecy come true, because Jesus told Judas, you're going to be kept secret for 2,000 years. Nobody's going to know about you, about this side of our story, this side of your story for 2,000 years. So it's a really interesting, like, true crime and mystery, like mystery in the ultimate sense, written 1,800 years before mystery became a genre. And to me, it's really fascinating. And it's just a spiritual truth, much in the same way that Jimmy Kimmel getting canceled for a long weekend and then coming back from the dead um, is a Jesus-like thing. And Charlie Kirk getting killed, and they tried to make him into some type of Christ figure, like worship Charlie Kirk, or you can't work. You have to worship Charlie Kirk, or the bad things will happen to you. It didn't work. They didn't pull that off, and thank the goddess they didn't pull it off. Jesus never said that to Judas. Yeah, he did in the Gospel of Judas. Son of Call said Jesus never said that to Judas, and Son of Call said, Coul said, Jehovah's Witnesses are also not Christian, aka follower of Christ. Exactly. All sorts of Christians say that other sorts of Christians aren't Christians. Okay? The point being, if anybody has Jesus in their mouth, they're getting replaced by the Church of Judas. I'll put it that way. Whether you called them Christian or not before, they're getting replaced by the Church of Judas. So you might not want to share the religion with Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons and all this other stuff, but you're gonna. Because all the churches are getting replaced. Every one of them gets replaced. There's not one that doesn't get replaced. If there are some that avoid this replacement transformation technology, they're just going to be looked at as weird, or they're going to die out. They won't have any truth to them, and everybody will be able to tell that. Okay, Mike says, you're the chosen one. You're the chosen one. You are the creator of the Church of Judas. I mean, that's what you're saying. Mike says, so you just called Jesus a liar because Jesus spoke of hell. Jesus went to hell for 3 days and then conquered death. I mean, if that's what Jesus said, I'm not doubting him. But again, if he conquered or broke the gates of hell, doesn't that do something? If hell does exist, isn't hell different now than it used to be? And I'm not sure that hell exists. It's like, sorry, but I mean, hate to burst your bubble. But again, why would you have hopes pinned on hell? You're not hoping to go there. You're just hoping to send other people there. Isn't that weird? Like, doesn't that make you feel weird to realize that that's what you want hell for, is to send people there? I mean, I can agree with you. I think Trump should be in hell and Charlie Kirk should be in hell, but I don't really believe in hell, so it just feels kind of weird to say that. But I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, I agree with you, except we disagree on who should be there. But if anybody should be there, one of us is right and the other one's wrong. I'm putting my bets on me. And Jesus and Judas. Anyway, welcome to the Church of Judas. This is a special edition here in the evening time, because I realize a lot of people are going to see Trump as the Antichrist right about now. In fact, I just saw videos about people who are realizing that. And so they're going to be looking for the real Jesus. They're going to be like, hey, this Antichrist has been misleading us. And they're going to be looking for the real Jesus. So I'm reading the comments. Mike says, it's in the scriptures, it's in the New Testament, and also in the Old. Yeah, and some things in the Bible contradict other things in the Bible. So how can they be strictly true, right? Like the manner of Judas's death is told in 2 contradictory ways. Who tells 2 different stories about how somebody dies? The guilty party? So maybe they murdered Judas because they thought, they were immediately the ones, oh, you're the one who turned him in? Maybe they murdered him. Okay, again, it's a murder mystery murder mystery, true crime stuff has become extremely popular in the last decade or two. Extremely popular. And Jesus has been popular for like many decades. You'd think that the fact that there is this murder mystery within Jesus's story, would really catch on and be something that people really want to talk about. I mean, it's all in good time, I guess. I mean, I think people will really want to talk about it. It might take somebody doing like a true crime podcast version of it, like that stupid Only Murders in the Building show, that actually makes it digestible to the modern audience. And because I'm not doing that, I guess I'll declare that I'm doing that. I'll call this that. But again, somebody could do that and become really famous. Maybe one of the three people that was just watching decided to rush off and do that. Mike's still here though. Oh, never mind. He's saying the same thing he said before. Anyway, people are going to be betraying Trump. They're going to realize that Trump's the Antichrist. They're going to be looking for the real Jesus. Your only duty to an evil God or master is betrayal. And that's where the Church of Judas comes in. It shows you how you can betray your previous bad ideas of God and reach a better idea of the goddess. You can reach an idea of Jesus that's beyond the Antichrist version that Trump and Charlie Kirk represent. And one way to see that is Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel is back. Jimmy Kimmel has risen from the couch because he had a long weekend. Jimmy Kimmel got a long weekend. He's going to get a big pay raise and everything else out of this. So he's going to return more glorious than ever before, much like Jesus, or much like Obi-Wan Kenobi, if making the Jesus comparison is too challenging for you. If you strike him down, he'll become much more powerful than you could possibly imagine. And that's Jimmy Kimmel. I mean, we could probably start watching him here in a few hours because Jimmy Kimmel's going back on the air tonight. But I'm just doing this for Christians who are realizing that Trump is the Antichrist, doing this for Christians who are realizing they've been duped by the devil for a while, and say, look, Jesus has a plan for you. Jesus had a plan for all of this. All of this fits into a plan. And you can fit into that plan too. You can access more and better real Jesus and escape the clutches of this Antichrist Trump bullshit. And I'll be glad to answer any of your questions about that. Otherwise, I'll just talk about the Church of Judas and how this was set up in the first place and how all these churches have done all this wrong, but it's not Jesus' fault because they've done all this wrong against Jesus' wishes, and Jesus had a plan to replace them for it. So, no questions, it looks like, and Net and YouTube's only picking a few people for my live. I usually get a lot of views on my videos that I post between 6 and 7, so I thought, well, maybe I've got a lot of viewers that are, wanting to watch a live at 6 and 7 that this would be shown to. But not so much. This actually got probably the least views of any live I've ever done or I've done recently. But that's okay because it's not about it would be nice to feel like people understand what I'm saying, and it's been very challenging for Mike and the other person in the comments. But I do feel like a couple people have liked, and those likes are encouraging, so maybe at least it did something for you. But just so everybody knows, Jesus had a plan for this. Judas comes back and replaces all the churches. That's every church, every Christian church that exists gets replaced by something that's radically different, that's woke. Mike says, oh no, why do I keep thinking Mike has typed a new comment when he has not? Let's just look like the comments moved. Anyway, so welcome, especially right now when people are realizing Trump is the Antichrist, and a lot of Christians have been duped by this evil Antichrist. They're going to wake up and need to know that Jesus didn't forget, or Jesus, saw this coming and had a plan. Jesus is not unprepared for this eventuality, and they can still have Jesus, even if they're rejecting a lot of what they were taught about Jesus. In fact, that's how you get to the real Jesus, by getting out of the wrong ones. And as I was saying before, your only duty to an evil master or God is to betray them. The simple truth of it is Jesus isn't from God. Jesus is from the goddess. God is a dangerous lie. It gets in the way of people recognizing the goddess. And that Jesus, that Antichrist Jesus, is a dangerous lie. It gets in the way of people recognizing Jesus. And it shouldn't be that hard. Jesus is love. You can fake love, but real love is, a lot better than fake love. And real love is a lot better than hate. So Trump is hate. He's the Antichrist. He's just blatantly, openly hate. Charlie Kirk was like a fake love hate, He was, Antichrist. Jimmy Kimmel's more like Jesus. Jimmy Kimmel is like love, and Jesus is love, But Jimmy Kimmel's like love because he's funny, and he's kind, and he has good intentions, and he's telling the truth, and he's making people feel good. And that's is just like lots of other people are. And that's all Jesus. That's all love. It's just that when Trump, the Antichrist, weaponizes and marshals all the ranks of this hateful antichrist Christianity, because it's not like Trump was the antichrist and he turned all these churches antichrist when he came on the scene 10 years ago. The church has been antichrist. Lots of churches have been antichrist to lots of extent. Trump marshaled that together, the same way Putin has done, the same way I'm sure Hitler did. And it's time to stop any of these wrong ideas about Jesus from being marshaled into these antichrist churches and movements ever again. Charlie Kirk is going to be the example of that. How, thanks for the likes. Y'all talk to me too, because Nathan Hawes, well, I had the wrong idea of this channel. I'd be interested to know what your idea of this channel was, Nathan Halls, or Hales, and nice to meet you. Thanks for the like if that was you. I'm just doing a special edition right now of the Church of Judas. I've done Church of Judas content before, but right now it's because I've heard all these MAGA Christians are waking up to the fact that Trump killed Charlie Kirk and that he's Antichrist. And they're ready to come back to Jesus and back to being American again. And I think it's time to just tell them explicitly, hey, Jesus is ready for that too, you know. Jesus has had a plan for dismantling these evil institutions, including these evil churches and countries that are the churches are embedded in, these evil empires. And it's kind of amazing. It's a magical, spiritual, um, it's a plan that proves Jesus is real. Like, I've always had a personal belief in Jesus, and I never really doubted Jesus myself. But I left the church when I was a kid because it was bullshit, and I didn't like things about it. And they didn't seem to have anything to do with Jesus. And then when I discovered this or realized this, it helped me not only believe in Jesus more, but it does prove Jesus is real. It's just a document that proves the reality and power and um, the depth of understanding or the ability to see the future that Jesus has, that you kind of expect he has. You know, you kind of, if you really think about Jesus, that's kind of what you think about him, you know, having these amazing divine powers. But it proves that to be true. Like, there's no other way the Gospel of Judas could be written. Like, it has to just be what Jesus told Judas. There's no other way to explain it. And, you know, scholars have written books about it, but apparently didn't conclude that. I don't know what they concluded. I haven't read those books. But I wrote a book about it where I did conclude that. And I think, and I'm working on another book. I'm hopefully get it out there soon. But mostly I've been doing video content about it to talk to people. And this time, again, Nathan, if you're still here, I'd be curious what your misconceptions or reconceptions of the channel are. But anyway, replacing Trumpism, replacing empire, replacing war, replacing patriarchy, Christianity. Those are the central things that I always mention when I mention the Church of Judas and what Jesus' plan was, and how he let the church, or he set up a church, even knowing that it was going to go so corrupt that it became the church of empires and the church of, you know, all this evil. But it's going to get replaced. And this is all instrumental in how it gets replaced. All these Christians who are waking up to the fact that Trump is Antichrist. That's going to be a major shift to bringing the Church of Judas to replace the Christian churches. And again, Judas didn't betray Jesus. Jesus asked him to do it. Thank you for the likes. Jesus asked him to do it and said, you're going to be hated for this. And you're going to be kept secret for thousands of years. But then you're going to be revealed and you're going to replace all their churches. The first two things came true. Judas was hated. All these churches have all these differences. And like this guy was saying in chat earlier, those people aren't Christians and that group isn't Christians. They all call each other not Christians. But one thing they all agree on is they all hate Judas. So Judas isn't a part of any of those churches, and he's not responsible for any of the evil things those churches did. But now Judas comes back and he replaces their churches, and they take a final form of Christianity that's radically different. It's woke. It's very different. It's feminist. It's pacifist. It's the things you think Jesus would be. They're the opposite of the way Christianity has been. So it replaces those churches. And by replacing those churches, we have a vehicle. Sorry, I didn't mean to make an inside joke there. We have a vehicle, we have a method, we have a movement, a mechanism, a launching ground. All your bases belong to us, from which we can overthrow these empires. And we can set an example in doing that by ridding this religion of patriarchy. And by doing that, ending war, that's going to catch people's attention in other religions. And they're going to be like, wow, what can we do with our religion if we end the patriarchy that's been sandbagging, holding back our religion this whole time? So I think it's going to spark a whole spiritual flourishing of the entire planet. And thanks, Jesus. I think that's really cool. I think that's a really cool plan. Exactly. Nathan Hales knows exactly what I'm talking about. He says they're trying to make Charlie Kirk the new Jesus, in my opinion. Yes, they're trying to say worship Kirk or you can't work. They're trying to make Charlie Kirk some type of like baseline for and they're trying to enforce a religion, a state religion, on everybody that's based on Charlie Kirk as Jesus. But Charlie Kirk's the Antichrist. Charlie Kirk's still taking the dirt nap 3 days later, but 3 days after they canceled Jimmy Kimmel, he came back, much like Jesus. And Jimmy Kimmel is a good analogy for. I'm not saying Jimmy Kimmel is more Jesus than Nathan or me or anybody else, or Mike or anybody else, but Jimmy Kimmel is revealing Jesus to people in a way, in the same way that Charlie Kirk is revealing he's the Antichrist. Charlie Kirk's family wasn't at his memorial service. I don't think they were ever supportive of him doing this Antichrist fascist stuff. And they definitely weren't going to support Trump trying to, like, fascist on his funeral. I'm sure they cared about their son, but not the fascist. They cared about their son, little Charlie, who they said, I'll grow up. And for them, it's sad. Smoke vidman? I don't know what that is. What a smoke vidman is. James Plummer says, yo, man, could you do a smoke vidman? I don't know what it is. Explain it in comments. Maybe I can. I don't know. They're trying to make Charlie Kirk the new Jesus. They tried to make Charlie Kirk a martyr. But what they ended up doing is making Jimmy Kimmel a martyr, just by giving him a long weekend and a huge pay raise, I'm sure, and making him more powerful and getting more attention and more influence than ever before. They made him a living martyr who gets to live through his, death, his brief cancellation. But Charlie Kirk doesn't, and they killed Charlie Kirk to do this. Let me be clear, they didn't kill Charlie Kirk to cancel Jimmy Kimmel and then fail at that. They killed Charlie Kirk to start a civil war. They really thought they could start a civil war too by killing Charlie Kirk and then ramping up all the rhetoric around it and getting more people killed and then getting backlash, retaliation, killings going. That's what they were trying to do. They were trying to start Civil War II by killing Charlie Kirk. And they're trying to do some other things. They're trying to send a message. Don't ask about the Epstein files. Israel may have been sending their message as well. Don't backtrack on your support for the genocide. All that stuff. All that stuff fits in together. Israel and Trump, or Netanyahu and Trump, definitely had a plan ready to go. They enacted a plan as soon as Charlie Kirk was killed that shows forethought and planning for this event. And now everybody's seeing through it. I saw on Park Rose Permaculture had a video of like a Christian who's been praying for Trump all these years, who said she finally prayed to God and asked, hey, what's going on? And God's like, yeah, Trump's the Antichrist. And so she's trying to tell her followers and trying to spread the word. And so this is why I'm doing this now too, is because people are waking up to the fact that Trump's the Antichrist. I've been talking about it for years, but there is a pathway. There's a way to, well, it's the plan. I wrote a book called The Art of Betrayal by God. I don't know, 7 years ago, 5 years ago, something like that. And that's what betrayal is for. The goddess or the creator, whatever you want to call it, made betrayal. Well, betrayal exists. The good reason for betrayal is if you're involved with somebody bad, betray them, escape them or whatever, or betray them if possible. So your only duty to an evil master or an evil god like Trump is betray them. Your only duty to the evil god that Trump represents is betray it. It's not even a real God. It's a false God. And there's the goddess above that. So Jesus is from the goddess. You keep Jesus. Jesus is actually love. You just don't keep an Antichrist Jesus. Or as I'd like to say, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, but throw out the damn bathwater. You can keep baby Jesus, but throw out the fucking bathwater. Like, don't keep all this stuff they've been marinating him in that's BS and gives it the wrong flavor. Nathan Hale says they're trying to make Charlie Kirk the new Jesus, right? And they failed. Oh yeah, but they were trying to start a civil war. And then they went all Wicked Witch of the West to Toto. When Wicked Witch of the West to Toto was like, well, I'll get you anyway, Pee-wee. When she couldn't stop the other one, she's like, I'll get you anyway, Pee-wee. Like, that's what he tried to do to Jimmy Kimmel. He's like, I couldn't start a civil war, but I'll at least get Jimmy Kimmel fired like I promised to do. And then that backfired on him huge. Like maybe even bigger than the Civil War would have. Nathan Hale says, Jimmy Kimmel is a good voice. I agree. I love Jimmy Kimmel. And he's on tonight. If you didn't hear the news, if this is how you hear the news, one reason I'm having this whole conversation is because Jimmy Kimmel's back. And I thought about how that's like Jesus, how he got canceled for a long weekend. And now he's back. Nathan Hale says none of Charlie Kirk's family was at the memorial. Exactly. And I feel sad for them because, again, they love Charlie Kirk for being their little boy, but they probably hated what he'd become. They probably hated what he was using his voice to do or how he was making his millions and all this stuff. Because, all good people hate that. It's like if you know what he's up to, if you know what it's really all about, promoting Trump and fascism and Zionism and stuff like this. And then for Trump to have him killed by the anti Zionist, the white nationalist, Christian nationalist wing of his terrorist network, because it's just two different wings of the same terrorist network. And that was the cover story. I mean, the cover story for the cover story was trans, furries, all this stuff that they made up. But the cover story, that Tyler Robinson is a groyper. Tyler Robinson is in the Nick Fuentes clan. And, it is their fault if he really did it. And now it's looking like somebody else did it and he was just set up to be the fall guy the whole time. And so it comes back to Israel or Trump or, a more professional thing. Yeah, Kimmel is back. He's on tonight. In fact, depending on where you are, he might be coming on tonight. And I think it would be great for us all to watch him, even if we have to change from our streaming services over to live TV or whatever. I don't know if they can just tell ratings on that or what, but we should all watch Jimmy Kimmel because I did see these MAGA trolls bragging about how they got higher ratings for Celebrity Jeopardy. Because I guess they probably, their superpower is ratioing things. So they probably all decided to go ratio Celebrity Jeopardy to try to make it look like it was more popular than Jimmy Kimmel or something. But anyway, yeah, Jimmy Kimmel's back tonight. We won. We beat Trump. It's going to really invigorate people to know that they have this power. We hopefully use that same power to change other things in the world, like stop the genocide in Gaza and get Trump out of office. And we can get Trump out of office in a matter of days or weeks. It's not that big of a deal. We just have to have the right pressure point, which this could be it. The killing of Charlie Kirk, refusing to release the Epstein files, and now refusing to release the truth about who shot Charlie Kirk. That's going to push enough people onto our side and people that are really into like calling their congressmen and stuff like that too, I think, that we'll get some of those guys on our side and then we'll tip it around. I mean, I guess we should have all been calling our congressmen and stuff like this all along, or we could still start doing that right now. But just really encouraging everybody, including in the red states, they call the red states, to get their congressmen to be willing to yank Trump. Impeach him / remove him under the 25th Amendment, to me, seems to be a much shorter process. He seems to fully qualify. I mean, he did call Biden a robot about a month ago. So Trump seems to fully qualify to be removed under the 25th Amendment for all sorts of things he's done. In fact, I thought Biden a robot is as trivial as it is compared to all the other evil stuff he's done. You just called this person a robot. And if you could make people vote, hey, is that unfit for office or not? Then it also shows that they're unfit for office. They're like, I kind of think our president should be able to think people are robots. No, that makes you unfit for office too. So I think that could have triggered bringing all these people out of office if we'd just done it back when he called Biden a robot, and you still have Pope Francis, and you still have like thousands of people, and concentration camps would have been released. I think we're going to have to consider some real compensation for the victims of the concentration camps. And the very first baseline one should be anybody ICE even contact should get automatic citizenship. Automatic citizenship should be the first thing. And that would scare ICE away from contacting anybody else if they knew that everybody they were going to come in contact with were going to get automatic citizenship. Yeah, Trump called Biden a robot about 2 months ago. He tweeted something about how Biden was a robot. And I was just like, look, you can say it's a joke or something, but he's calling Biden a robot. Like that shows you're not fit to be the president when you're calling Biden a robot. Like you're just unfit. It's the definition of unfit. And you could have just removed him. And that was, a week or two before he advanced Pope Francis. It was a while back now. But I mean, he's done a lot worse stuff than that. But I thought when he advanced Pope Francis, I was like, look, Catholics, there's 25 Catholic congressmen. I think maybe 25 Republican Catholic congressmen and women. Like, just get a few of them to be like, look, dude, you killed our Pope. Like, okay, we're yanking you. You killed our Pope. But and J.D. Vance can yank him. I thought that was completely, that was never going to happen. But J.D. Vance also has the power of the 25th Amendment to declare him unfit. He just has to get like his cabinet to vote, but you could get half of them to vote for you on that, I believe. I think that when J.D. Vance met with Rupert Murdoch personally on a Tuesday, and then Trump announced he was going to sue Rupert Murdoch for $10 billion on that Wednesday or Thursday, I don't think Vance was meeting him to, hash out a plan or try to negotiate something to avoid the $10 billion suit. I think the Murdochs, Rupert and Lachlan Murdoch, were meeting J.D. Vance to suggest, hey, are you ready to be president yet? Because we can make this happen. This is a two-stage process. This is a two-day, meaning today. We can do it today. This is a today kind of thing. And J.D. Vance is just like, no, I'm afraid. I wear these high-heeled boots. I'd be so easy to topple. But anyway, if J.D. Vance had a spine, if J.D. Vance had any courage, he'd be president by now. I mean, is my point there. But we can all rally the Christians in Congress and the Catholics in Congress, if you think those are two different things. We can all rally the people who care about Jesus in Congress to impeach / remove Trump under the 25th Amendment, especially as it's going to set in that, yeah, Trump killed Charlie Kirk. Like, it's what Putin would do. So here was my reasonings from the very beginning to say Trump killed Charlie Kirk. One is to do a false flag thing to start more attacks from Trump Putineers, his terrorist base, upon Americans, the left. Two was because Charlie Kirk did ask one weekend, he was like, no, I demand the Epstein files. When Trump was first saying he's not going to release the Epstein files, Charlie Kirk was like, no, I demand the Epstein files. So it was a way of Trump to send a signal to anybody, do not demand the Epstein files, or you'll end up like Charlie Kirk. Exact same thing applies for Israel, and when he was fully supporting Israel in their genocide, and then he started to waver. Same dynamic applies there. But it's just because Israel and Trump wanted him killed doesn't mean they're not going to work together. They worked together on this whole genocide thing to get Trump elected in the first place. So yeah, they're going to work together. Putin coordinates these things for both of them. Like, I've been saying that for years too, and it's always proven true. Then the third thing is because he's distracting from Putin invading Poland, and he's invading the largest Polish American city, Chicago, on the same day. And then they shot Charlie Kirk. So it's a distraction from that, and it's a distraction from the Epstein files birthday card, and then back to Charlie Kirk did ask about the Epstein files. And then he came back and he looked threatened. After a weekend of asking about the Epstein files, Charlie Kirk came back and he looked threatened, and he was like, I'm just going to stop talking about the Epstein files. I'm just going to trust my government on this. And that would have gotten killed by some of these unhinged supporters, Trump supporters, who were that crazy about the Epstein files. So anyway, one way or the other, or that crazy about Trump and having to protect Trump, one way or the other, or that crazy about being a purist and having somebody backtrack or flip-flop. But, it could have had just as much to do with Israel. I don't know. I'm not speculating on who did it. I'm just saying Trump is responsible in every scenario, and he's doing it to be like Putin. That's the number 4 thing, is Putin would kill a top supporter to send a message to the rest. So Trump's doing it to be like Putin. Like, I watched a Dark Brandon video right after this happened, and his first speculation, I think this was before anybody had come out and taken credit, his first speculation was, well, Trump did it. But his only, well, the reason that doesn't make sense is Charlie Kirk got him so many votes. But what if it's Trump flexing, saying, I don't need the votes, I'm a dictator now, I don't need the votes, so I don't need Charlie Kirk. Like, if that's your only reasoning why he didn't do it, then I don't think that's a good enough reason. Nathan Hale says Christian and Catholic shouldn't be separate. Well, yeah, I don't separate them. I think they've all equally got sex shame, for one thing, and that's not actually Christian. Jesus is love. That includes sexual love. Sorry, anybody who has problems with sexuality or gay people or anything like that, that's not Jesus. Putin didn't dodge drafts. I don't know. I got to shut the live down just because I can't go over an hour, or it takes a really long time to post. But I'll come back if you guys want. But I'm not going to try to preempt Jimmy Kimmel. I think I might even try to watch Jimmy Kimmel in my time zone to give him that support and see what he has to say. I'm really excited about it. So I hope you guys are too. And again, Jimmy Kimmel's like Jesus, but Charlie Kirk is like the Antichrist. And this is being proven in a way that's going to shift people out of the Antichrist Trumpism and back to the real Jesus of the truth. Thanks for subscribing. It's great talking to you, Nathan. Hopefully I'll see you again soon. And maybe just even in a few minutes. But welcome to the Church of Judas, or welcome to my live about the Church of Judas. And I hope to see you again here soon, and we'll talk more about it. Oh, let me do the Church of Judas blessing. Goddess bless you, Mary bless you, Mary bless you, Mary bless you, Jesus bless you, Judas bless you, I bless you, and bless yourself.